Good. Okay. All right. It is 6:02 and we will start this meeting of the McMinnville Fire District. Call to order. We'll begin with roll call of directors.
President Garvin.
Here.
Vice President Smith.
Here.
Treasurer Trapp.
Here.
Secretary Pratt.
Here.
Member Sparrow. I do not see him online, but he may be on soon. So Amy, if you see him come, if you'd let us know. Roll call complete.
Okay, let's move to Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd mind.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yep.
Any changes to the agenda?
I do have one change request, and that's a potential for you to approve us to move forward with the FEMA grant. Just an addition.
Okay. Any objections to the change of the agenda? Okay. Next is the consent agenda, approval of the minutes from our last meeting on February 8th. Entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda and the minutes.
I move to approve. Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next is financial report. Budget update, please.
Yeah, we met yesterday with the budget group, myself, Amy, and Donna, as well as we brought Jenny in also from an ambulance perspective. We've got the budget, I would say, collected, if you will. You know, the previous years, the 6 months of the city's operation of the budget, if you will, and then our basically last, we'll call it month and a half, just a little over a month and a half. The numbers aren't accurate yet because there's those missing pieces. So I'm not really willing to share the numbers because I don't want them out there to be inaccurate. We did get a hold of the city yesterday, Crystal, at the city to get those missing pieces. And Amy feels comfortable that we did get the pieces that we needed to kind of make those numbers accurate. They're whole, but they're not like truly accurate. We have our next meeting is next Tuesday at 9 o'clock, where we should have good, accurate numbers, as well as a formulated budget for this year, which is you've already adopted, but putting it in kind of the new format, if you will. And then being able to show the actual profit and loss, the actual expenditures, as well as income and current account balances. So unless we run into some other find, and that's what's happened. A lot of the information that we got from the city was only half of the year's budget, if you will. And then it's just collecting a lot of data through that transition, and it'll go significantly smoother moving forward. But, it's just getting everything together, and I'm comfortable with the path that we're going. It's just, I'd like to get those numbers whole so we can, share and start working with those numbers, if you will.
Any questions for the chief on the budget?
One other quick thing on that, via Amy, as well as our auditor, they are asking for the board to decide what type of accounting basis we're going to use. So there's really two main kinds. There's three in your packet, but there's two. It's a cash basis and accrual. That's how we budget, or how we track, I should say, spending. The most common for our world, less than 25 million, and the recommendation of both our accountant as well as our auditor is a cash basis. I will go into as much depth as you want because I learned more than I care to know, but the gist of it is your cash basis is you purchase a $15,000 item, but you expend that money when you get the bill, you write the check, then you log that $15,000 transaction. An accrual would be, I'm gonna buy this car for 15,000. Immediately you say that 15,000 is out of your account, even though it's not. The disadvantage to that is, that it shows it being gone, but if you don't end up procuring that vehicle, you've got to remember to go back and put that 15,000 back in. So it is the recommendation of the accountant as well as our auditor to proceed with the cash basis accounting. But it is the decision of the board, and they are asking for a motion if you're willing to do one of those two.
Make a motion, have a discussion, any questions? So entertain a motion on approving as recommended the budget process.
For a cash basis accounting.
Cash-based accounting. Motion on that?
I think if it's been recommended, I would make a motion that we have a cash basis budget.
I'd second that.
All right. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Sounds like it's recommended and they know more about it than I do, so.
In the research I did, it's pretty,
See, Director Sparrow.
Director Sparrow's on. I did some research on it. The accrual basis is predominantly when you have greater than a $15 million budget. There's pros and cons to both, but that is the recommendation from both of our entities.
Understood. Okay. Any questions, President Garvin or Director Sparrow related to the budget discussion we're having?
No, I'd be in favor of cash basis. It'll give us a more true number day to day for staff to reference of where they are in their budget cycle and where they are interdepartment as well, so they can pivot if need be throughout the fiscal year.
Sounds good. Dan, anything from you, sir?
No questions here.
Okay, we'll move to a vote then. All in favor of moving to a cash basis budget process, accounting process?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
How about the budget committee?
We still have two, Donna. Is that accurate? So we have two members that have currently expressed interest in the budget committee. I think you still have time. But if you want to do some recruiting, which we are also doing, please feel free to do so. Very important role, especially this first year, to set our goals and objectives, as well as our financial goals and objectives. So I think it's important positions. We want to get a good rounded group of individuals. It is a 5 and 5 member budget committee per your, I believe it's board policy 15, which it'll be all 5 board members as well as 5 budget committee members that would attend would be your budget committee. So like I said, we currently have 5. Donna, do you remember when we closed or when we asked for closing? I want to say
March 1st, and I did
First.
receive one more, so we officially have 3.
We officially have 3. Thank you.
Yes.
March 1st?
So we need at least 2 more. The intent behind it is for you to get greater than 5, and then you as a board would have an opportunity to interview like we're going to do for Civil Service Commission, and then choose as you see fit.
Could you remind us of what we're doing to communicate the openings and what we might do to get a few more?
Yeah, so we posted it. Can you tell us where all we posted it?
We posted it on our social and on the websites. I think that maybe just those 2.
As well as we have reached out to some of the rural board members to try and get that, those constituents, in. I know the union has been talking to a couple of individuals. I have talked to a couple of individuals personally. And I think that some are waiting for the civil service side also because they want to do one or the other. So you may get some of those also. So that's.
Okay. Well, we have a little bit of time left till March 1st to get at least 2 more candidates. Yeah,
Yep.
probably more.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that update.
One last thing on the financial report, and this is just an FYI. I got a report from Jenny yesterday. January was the largest billable call month in the history of McMinnville Fire. at a little over 520 calls. Our average is in the mid 400s. So a fairly significant increase, and the largest in history.
Yeah.
At 100, it only took us 150 years to get there, but
Been busy.
we've been busy. Yeah.
Yeah. Along those lines, chief, I did see your email about the city as far as crediting amount to the fire district. And in that email, it talked about a supplemental budget amendment action needed. Is that?
Yeah, so they owe us a little over million, 1.1 million. And the issue is that, and they actually do have budget, it's a budget authority issue. I'm just gonna use easy numbers. The city's allowed through their budget process to spend $1 million a year. If they happen to go over that, then they have to do a supplemental budget, giving them authority to do 1.1 million, for example. They have found authority for about 500,000, 550,000. So we will be getting that immediately. Then they will be going to do their supplemental. They have to post it
Okay.
as a change to their budget for an increase in budget authority on February, I believe it's 22nd. Well, that would be today. It's the end of February, or they posted it today, I believe, and then it's there. And President Garber may be able to answer this, but then they'll, at their meeting, then they will theoretically move to approve the increase in that authority, and they will give us the rest. So we're tracking it. They have been communicating with us. They have been keeping us up to date. But it's about 1.1 million in revenue additional, and 550,000 immediately.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? We'll move on. Okay, next is public comment. Entertain any statements, comments from the citizens. Anybody in the queue? Or anybody in the audience? Okay, moving on, thank you. To business. First order is resolution 2024-01, OSGP deferred comp.
I'll just give a quick update. So this is as per our agreement with Local 3099 of providing the 3 deferred compensation plans. This is, I believe, the 3rd plan, correct? This will be their 3rd and final plan. So Director Vicky's here to discuss and of course answer any questions. This resolution, just so you know, does look a little bit different. It's numbered the same as your normal resolutions, but this is their boilerplate. So rather than have to take it to a whole bunch of different legals to change it to our boilerplate, this is what they use at the state level as their boilerplate for the resolution. It does follow our numbers. So, and I'll let Director Vicky speak it, or if you have any questions.
I don't have much more to add. It is, we're offering this plan and just to be in compliance with our MOU with Local 3099. OSGP is in partnership with PERS, and they generally offer lower fees to our employees. So it's a good plan for employees for that reason. So they're a little less cost than the other 2 plans that we offer. Nothing exciting in the resolution, just boilerplate language, as Chief mentioned.
Questions or concerns for us?
This will make a total of 3 plan options.
Oh, accurate, yes.
Any questions on this resolution? Okay. Okay, entertain a motion on resolution 2024-01, approving OSGP deferred comp an option.
I move that we approve resolution 24-01 for the deferred comp.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any more questions or comments before we vote? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Let's see, into other business. Board committee liaison reports, LoSAP.
So with LoSAP, we did get our monthly statement for last month. And that number is roughly 930,000. With payouts, to the vested individuals, it went down roughly $500. Again, that's with, I believe Garvin brought up the point last meeting that that's with a interest rate of like 3% that we're getting on that investment. I know it was brought to our attention that we should be looking at maybe other options to where it could be fully funded on its own or be gaining money. So I haven't talked to Chief Law on that as far as other options, but I will reach out by next meeting, have more to follow up with that, so.
Keep that report. Any questions on the report?
There is some special districts assistance. They also offer the LoSAP, so they might be a good one to communicate with also, because there is some legalities of government investing in which those funds would be considered government investing. So we got to kind of be cautious there, but
Yeah.
And Chief Law does know about it.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to branding. Director Sparrow, any updates on branding? Anybody else?
No updates here. We haven't had a meeting since we came up with the logo, and until we get further direction from the board, we won't schedule another meeting until we have a strategic plan and that sort of stuff, and start working on mission statements and those types of things. So
The patches and everything.
Yeah. No, yes.
No.
Chinese holiday did delay us. However, we did just get info today or yesterday. They are in the process of starting those. We have also ordered 2 of these sweatshirts with the embroidered logo for looks to see how does it fit, before we order, however many of them.
Yeah.
So those 2 have been ordered and they'll come in for, trial and error. And do you like them? Does it blend well? And then the patches, I believe, if I remember correctly, we're getting 2 or 3 variations of the patch to see, how it looks for height and the coloring and stuff on the outside. So, and then, yes, we'll be able to move forward with those. They are back open and they are starting to communicate again. So, and that was, I believe, was yesterday. There's also a uniform committee that Chief Law is overseeing to look at our uniforms as in general. And that is things like our t-shirts that don't have the logo on it, but they say like McMinnville Fire, they just say McMinnville Fire on the back. Do we keep those? Do we change? They're going to look at it holistically, because if you're going to change, now's the time. But I'm also fiscally like, hey, let's use those t-shirts first and, that kind of thing. So, but they do have a committee that they're standing up, and Lori is taking the lead on it, and Chief Law is the chief overseeing it.
Anything else? We'll move on. Okay. All right, on to board information reports. Let's start with President Garvin. Anything to report?
Just we had Fire Marshal Ty Darby last night at City Council, and thank you for his work last night. And I think we'll be seeing some movement on open flame in the city from my read of the temperature in the room last night in the coming weeks or months. And thanks for sticking it out last night. I know you kind of got the last presentation of the night, so it was a late night for him.
Okay, thank you for that. Can you report on SDAO conference?
Yeah, SDO conference overall was good. There was some good sessions there. I know Chief saw a couple vendors as well that was promising, networked with some other fire agencies, some of our neighboring mutual aid partners. So it was good to start to build relationships with their board members and fire chiefs. Overall, it was a positive experience. And just for a first conference, it was more just taking everything in.
Yeah, thank you for attending and representing. Chief, thank you for going, and Ray, you went as well. Anything you want to report on that?
Just back up what Adam was saying, it's met a lot of people and made some contacts. And just kind of took it all in.
All right, anything to report? Anybody else? Anything else? Okay. All right, moving on to information only, department reports. Local 3099 President Todd Godfrey is via Zoom. Anything you have for the meeting tonight, Todd?
Nothing tonight, sir. Thanks.
Okay. And I don't know if we have President Pete Goodman volunteers out there. I don't think so. Okay. How about move to the fire chief's report?
Good news. We did come up, we thanks to Vicky, and Todd and myself, we did sit down for our last meeting. We did come up with a final product. We're going through just a few tweaks, making sure that things are, accurate and numbered correctly and, those type of things. My intent is to get that to you, either by tomorrow or Monday morning, so that you have a couple of weeks to look at it and review it. I do encourage you to look at it and review it prior to the meeting. And of course, if you have questions within that period of time, ask those questions, because we want to continue to make tweaks on it so that you're happy with it. As you remember, you guys will be voting to approve those the first time before the commission is put together. And then after that, the commission would approve changes or such. But so please, we'll give you a couple of weeks, but please review those. Feel free to ask questions of myself, Todd, very involved, and Vicky, of course, even more so involved. So we're happy to help. It's a draft. I mean, it's your document. There is, what's the one that they had to make the decision on? The second paragraph.
Oh, on selection of committee members.
Yeah, numbers.
Yeah.
So there, and we'll all highlight it. There is, so everything's written as we see it would be successful, right? So we see it as a document that we could implement. There is one section that we made some assumptions for the board, and that is on how you want to staff, how you want to stagger and such. So basically you'll see two paragraphs that are the same, but they're worded differently. And so please take a look at that, because again, we made assumptions for the board, but that is completely your decision of how you want to do it. I will highlight it so that when you see it, it will hit you. It'll probably hit you because you're going to say the paragraph twice. But so please take a look at that, because that is something that even if you do approve it, we need you to say yay or nay to number 1 or 2, because one of, or 3 or 4 for that matter, if you had it.
You'll be looking for approval at the next meeting. Is that correct?
I would love it. But it is a very large document, and I understand it may take longer. What I would ask for is, yes, either approval or that we have good dialogue at that next meeting to have it done by the next meeting, if you will, because it is a large document. I understand that.
Thank you for that.
Any questions on civil service? That would then allow you, well, you're allowed now, but it would give you your direction on how you would interview your potential commissioners moving forward, and would allow you then to start that process, your interview processes and such. Update on the administrative services director and the finance director. We have seen in the last 2 days a fairly large uptick, 3 interested administrative services and 2 interested finance. I believe applied, it's still completed. Applied, is it still 1 and 1? 2 and 1.
2 of the administrative.
Yeah, 2 administrative and 1 finance. There is a 3rd, but it's an incomplete application. We did give that individual an opportunity to to turn in a completed application because she got the information from the chamber posting, and the chamber posting does not have the whole packet. Everything else does, but for some reason in the chambers it didn't. So we did send her the packet and said that to be considered, you would have to complete this. The second finance person had some questions, to keep it consistent, because I did talk to the first finance one who called me with questions. I called that individual back and left a message and have not received a phone call back yet. So,
And these are open until,
the 8th, I believe.
So,
and the chamber posting's been updated.
the beginning of March.
Have we updated? I think it's
It's the way that the chamber posts.
Yeah.
It doesn't allow anything for the.
so we'll continue to reach out if that was to happen. We did use Indeed and ZipRecruiter at the request, I believe, Treasurer, I think you had brought that up last meeting, so we did include that. On that same note, I have reached out to keeping all options open. I have reached out to some, at the SDO conference, one of the contacts that we made was some contractual HR businesses, if you will. And SDAO actually contracts with one themselves. They also recommended two other individuals, they're individual businesses. The first one they contract with is a larger business. I do have meetings with, I believe, actually all of them. I had one today out of California that came recommended from somewhere else. I will not be moving forward with them. They will not meet let me rephrase that. They will not meet what I think the expectations would be. So I'm not going to move them on. They can't be on site and they want everything remote. That's just not, I think the majority of it can be that, but not, we have to have some site. So for the rest of the week and the beginning of next week, I have additional ones. I have also done the same thing for IT. And actually had a very good interview with one, if you will. And we're providing some additional information to them so they can actually give us some quotes. That's just to keep options open. Doesn't mean we're going down that path or whatever, but there's potential cost savings as well as potentially larger pools of expertises and experiences. But I will say, looking at the some of the administrative services and the one finance one that I read, we've got some very experienced master's and bachelor's degree bachelor's and associate degree dual degrees in human resources. One is local, one is close by. So, I mean, we're getting input. So, we do have the questions, the scoring, and everything already ready to go for interviews. And we'll reach out to individuals to help sit on the committee. Treasurer Trafford, one of them that I was thinking about asking to sit on it. Commissioner Johnson, I believe you were I believe you were asked by your counterpart, but so to have a well-rounded board as well as some office staff. So that's what I have on that. Any questions on
Any
that?
questions on that part of the process?
That closes on that same date. I believe it's the 8th.
March 8th.
I believe so. But
Yeah, I
of
think
course, I was corrected by my better side here. It's the 4th.
March 4th. I'll just say that I think it's smart, and good that we're looking at other options around hiring consulting services around the HR work. Yeah, so thank you for doing that. Okay, the FEMA grant update.
Yeah, so we're deep into the FEMA grant. We have several versions so far. We have been utilizing the IFF's grant writing program, which has been very beneficial. They've pointed out some very significant, I will call them very significant ideas to us or changes from number of words to priorities and things like that. They're also willing, it does at the bottom of the application also ask if anybody helped you with that and they are willing to put their name on it also as an assistant, that's a benefit for us. We're still working through that process, to complete the supplemental, if you will. I'll back up before I ask that question. I have received bids from two different, radio entities, both Motorola as well as Kenwood. Motorola is the most used radio anywhere around us, if you will. The police department upgraded their radio system as well as their radios. They went Motorola. Many of our outside partners, I would say all of our outside partners, went with Motorola except for one. However, with that said, that's a $668,000 Motorola bid versus a $367,989 Kenwood bid. They both do the same thing. Both of them are tri-band, both of them have emergency buttons, both of them have identifiers. There are advantages of going with Motorola's if you're on a Motorola system, which at some point we could be. It's not today. There are advantages, technical advantages to going with the Motorola radio. Day-to-day talk, response, arrival, I need help, fit and finish, those type of things, they're both very comparable. One's skinnier, one's fatter. Those type of things are the differences. Both of them tri-band, both of them encryption capable, both of them P25 compliant, both of them accepted radios in the grant. This is a 10% matching fund. So to put it into perspective, maybe, our dollars, the district's dollars would be six, this is a very close approximate. It could change slightly, but $66,808.17 for Motorola. That is our 10% versus $36,798.96. I'm sorry, for the Kenwood. Internally, we did make the recommendation of Kenwood. And I agree with it. With that said, the only concern would be is if we at some point went to a Motorola system, there are some functionalities that we would lose. Nothing at the firefighter level in any way, shape, or form.
We see with compatibility,
encryption,
YCOM, all that stuff.
yeah, all that is, in fact, one of the YCOM agencies is on Kenwood. So it was our recommendation, just from a fiscal responsibility and the fact that we would have to come up with money out of our pocket. The $36,798 is easier for us to purchase than it would be the 66,800. So I have two things. I open that for discussion, concerns, questions, comments. And then second thing, if you were willing to allow us to move forward, we would need that approval tonight because there is a closing of first part of March. So we would need to have your authority to apply for the grant, knowing that we would expend, it's over the $50,000 fire chief authority. And that way you would give us the authority to move forward with either 66,000 or the 36,000, which is obviously under, but I wanted to bring everything to this table.
Is it currently in the budget?
I do have a funding source for it. Yes. It was not budgeted for, to answer your question, but with the refinance of the balloon loan at the end of the month and the potential to extend that loan, and President Garvin, feel free to jump in. The potential to extend that, pay off our debt and keep that loan for an additional 10 years, would net us, I'm going to call it $400,000-ish of monies for, in my opinion, air packs, radios, certain things like that that are needed replacement items. Right? Thank you. So there is a funding source potential.
All right.
Yeah, so that was one of the takeaways of the SDO. We met with SDO's finance person, David Albright, who's here in town, Chief Leifert and I and Chief Hannafin and I had met with him as well ahead of that. And so the goal of that was to use the same debt service number that we've had budgeted, so we're not increasing our output year to year more than we are right now, as we're trying to still get our feet underneath us. And so what amount of money could we free up with the same debt service year to year that we've already been used to over the life of this truck and engine loan? And so that's where that number came from. You know, if we took out a 10-year loan at the same payment, we would free up that amount of money and be able to refinance our loan away from the city, which we have to do by June 30th, I believe.
Right. Any thoughts or opinions on Motorola versus Kenwood as presented by the chief? Adam, anything from you on that, or Dan?
I personally don't have anything. I mean, yeah, Motorola is the top of the line model, but as long as it doesn't affect anything at the firefighter level or any in building coverage or anything like that, functionality wise, for our line staff, I'm fine going forward with Kenwood, realizing that there might be a personal desire of some staff to go with Motorola, but budgetarily wise, it's in the best interest of our constituents to watch your dollars and go with the system that works. That might not be top of the line.
Thank you for that. Anything else on that?
Seems reasonable. It's quite a price difference, and for the same service, be best off saving the money.
Are there any,
Chief, if you would, from my understanding, the main difference of the two systems is A, just the size of the radio, so it's a little bulkier, and then B, if we went to a Motorola system on the back end, we would still have to just basically hand in-person program the Kenwoods, where if we had a full Motorola system, we could push programming to those radios, so save us a little bit of run costs potentially down the road, but we'd have to be on a full Motorola system to even take advantage of that.
That's accurate. The reality, the way I looked at it and why I came to that conclusion is by the time we got a true Motorola trunked 700-800 megahertz, maybe a VHF sideband, digital 5-tower system, which is what's recommended, hooked to WACA, that's years down the road. By that time, we would likely be looking at replacing radios, you know what I mean, by that time anyways. So to President Garvin's point, the I call it $3,000-ish, $4,000 electronic type of differences that you have, we're not going to use for years down the road anyways. We have confirmed, because there was an issue with getting on WACA's system in years past with Kenwood radios, we have confirmed that they do now allow Kenwood radios on it. We do know that Salem does allow Kenwood radios on their system, which is the 700-800 megahertz side. And we know that our VHF, which is our tap out channel, will work. And we know that it will work for our current UHF, which is our working channels. So to President Garvin's point, from a firefighter safety in-building coverage penetration, they are like for like. The Kenwood is a little larger. Some argue that's great with a gloved hand. Some argue that doesn't fit my radio purse very well, or my pocket as well. I shouldn't say very well, but as well. Those are the negatives that the crews state. I did just talk to Chief Burton on my way out here. We have a demo. They've all been carrying it and using it. I just excluded them from using it in emergency scenes, but he said it's just fine. It's bigger than the other one, but I can hear well. It works well. So. All right, any other question?
oh, I was just wondering if there's other hidden benefits or downfalls with them, like as far as support, or if you do end up upgrading or replacing later on, does Motorola have a better program for that than once you're in, it's, versus Kenwood?
The costs all around for a Motorola system are significantly greater for everything. For our PMs that we just did, $790 a month for 22 radios. 22 or 44. It's one of the two. It's very expensive. They are very good. They are very robust. They are proven. In my opinion, that's the detriment to me. Kenwood is not proven like Motorola is. From a dropped it in the muddy water at the fire scene, picked it up, put it back in my pocket. That, just be factual, that has not been proven like a Motorola APX radio has been. From a system standpoint, that's federally regulated. So from a P25, can I talk on anybody's system and get help? The answer is yes, it's federally regulated. They say it's proprietary because the systems are proprietary, but there's a pathway in by law. So no matter what happens, we'll always be able to do that. From a system maintenance standpoint, it will be significantly cheaper to, number one, maintain the Kenwood radios. I did meet with both vendors. It will be significantly cheaper to maintain them, as well as if and when I have to replace them out of my budget. It's significantly easier for me to buy a radio at literally half the cost than it is to replace one, at full cost. So if you ask me for one big negative, what's your concern? My concern is they don't last 15 years. I'm not saying they won't, but if you're asking my concern, that would be my concern, because they're not proven like a Motorola radio is, no matter how you look at it. With that said, we do also have, we have been putting, because of cost, prior to my time, but and feel free to speak if I'm speaking wrong, but we have placed Kenwood mobile tri-band radios in our new ambulances already, just due to cost. So we're already semi-familiar with the Kenwood platform on the mobile side of things, versus the Motorola. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that additional information. Very helpful. Any other questions before we move to a motion? What does the motion need to say?
I would say it's a motion to approve the fire district to apply for the FEMA grant to purchase radios. I would ask that you put, you choose a cap for out-of-pocket expenses, and maybe I would ask for 50,000. I believe it'll be around the 36,000, 40,000. But that way, if there's an unforeseen cost or something like that, we could roll with that and not have to come back to the board and stop us from being able to apply. I don't see that happening. I just respectfully request the ability to do so.
Entertain a motion that we approve the fire chief to move forward on the FEMA grant, purchase new Kenwood radios with a maximum spend of $50,000.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a motion and so you make the motion, we have a second?
Yes.
Second.
Yeah, okay, we have a motion and a second, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries.
Thank you very much. The crews are very appreciative. Website update. We are in the final week of them bringing all of our data in. And by next week, they believe they'll have a working product for view. This is going to take time to tweak and, make it exactly how we want it. But they're currently this week, I'm actually looking at an email right now, bringing all of the city's data. So whatever we had on the city side, over to ours, they've also asked us for some specific information that each division has provided. They've gotten all that information. So I'm hoping maybe by our next board meeting that we'll at least be able to put it up on the board for you to see and, get that out, rolled out, so we can start pointing people to our website for jobs and meeting minutes and those type of things. So coming along well though. They're very receptive. Dave, from this Code 3 Creative is who's creating our website, and they've been very receptive and good to work with.
Training update.
Training update. We are bringing on 5 new volunteers right now. Two of them are Linfield students. And one of them is from McMinnville High School's fire program. I say that because tomorrow we actually have a meeting with the high school again, and that is to include the superintendent, I believe principal and vice principal, as well as Chemeketa Community College's dean and fire program manager, to kind of try and help, bring those groups together, as well as aid and assist any way we can, because these are the types of people that we would like to capture, right? Local, in town, and this gentleman is 18 years of age. And so I hope that those doors that we're doing from the administrative side, like tomorrow's meeting, as well as from Chief Law's, volunteer academies, and this gentleman coming through that will open those doors to 300 new volunteers that go through the fire program every year. Maybe not that many. I don't think the budget will, but so that's coming. There's also the 5th one is from a local bank. There's a career academy that starts on the 4th of March. It'll be a 2-week academy. Unfortunately, today we did get notified by our out-of-state individual that he is not going to participate. So we are down to 1. They are currently online writing thirds. Is that accurate? Until the academy starts. So, and we offered a job to the single role that's also from town. Many years of Portland AMR experience, ambulance experience. We did make that job offer a couple days ago. So we're working through that with him right now. And then Chief Hannafin and I are going to start working on our path moving forward for what the organization will look like, in the year, 3 years, 5 years, as far as staffing. The up to 3 single role ambulances, 3rd person on an engine, additional company, so that now we're potentially losing a couple of individuals to other departments, as well as, we hire, but then we only get one of the 2 type thing. And that's okay, because it's actually, it's actually playing into our goal moving forward. So it's not as bad of a thing. But what we are going to strive to do is continue that hiring process so that we can be fully staffed into the summer to help with that, burden of time off and people wanting to be with their families. I had something else on that. Lost that one. So anyways, we will continue to work on that. We'll keep the board updated. And I believe that we have a good path forward. President Garvin and I, President Garvin specifically, but are working on the Lafayette discussion that we talked about last week. He's going to be meeting with their city administration potential ambulance placements. We have been working with a GIS person on mapping. What happens if we put an ambulance here? What happens if we put an ambulance there? What happens if we put 2 ambulances remote? What does that do for our ASA response time standard? And then we'll go into the fire response time standard next. I'll talk about that here in a second, but so we'll continue on that. Last thing was the AFG grant. So that's training. There's questions on that.
Next on the agenda is set of cover, but covered quite a bit of it.
Yeah, I'll keep going. I'm sorry.
Or you want to go to AFG grant?
No, sorry. We did AFG. That's the FEMA, right? Oh, AFG. I'm sorry. Yes, AFG. No, SOC. Sorry. Ray, myself, and Adam all met at the conference with special districts. They believe that what we're looking for is outside of their scope. They didn't feel like they had the tools to provide what we're looking for. Chief Hannafin had a contact, Dan Peterson, used to be a fire chief down south, works with a company like an ESCI type of company. We have reached out to them. They have responded back. I have a meeting set up with them. It also will probably be in our best interest. What I'm finding is these are pretty intensive processes, and there's not many out there that do it because they don't have the tools. Not that they don't have the time or the knowledge, they just don't have the tools to do it. I may reach out to ESCI also and talk to them. What I did find is in the standard of cover specifically was our state, we definitely need a big update because our station locations were done in the city's urban growth boundaries. So even the station locations aren't necessarily accurate by your 97 square mile district versus what the UGB was. So we'll continue to work on that. It is a top priority. And we set up a meeting as soon as they reach out. And we did discuss that with them. And Secretary Pratt or President Garvin, did you have anything to add on that conversation with SDO?
No, sounds like you got it pretty covered there.
I must have nailed. Oh,
Yeah, no, nothing really to add. He was pretty pointed that it was outside the scope of what SEO could do for us. So I appreciated that. We learned that early on, and we had hoped to move with them because of how efficient they are with our budgetary dollars. But if they don't have the software, they can't do the job.
that's really what it came down to. There were several of them that have actually done it, but done it for other companies, and they personally don't have the software to do the mapping and the statistics and such. So we will continue to work on it.
Okay, thank you for that. Was there anything else on your update? Okay. Any other questions for the fire chief before we move on? Correspondence, do we have any?
I don't believe we received. Donna, did we receive any letters?
Okay. Info items, Farmers Banquet, March 15th, 1700, Youngberg Hill. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, the RFS, did you guys see the RSVP? I saw your names on it. If you haven't already, if you plan on coming, please RSVP. We're just trying to get a table number, a couple of differences this year than in the past. It still is absolutely the award banquet. We are making a concerted effort to invite retirees also for that inclusion portion of it. We also will have, we have invited the previous 3 retirees of the year. The addition, not change, but addition that we're adding to this is that's the moving forward, that will be the venue in which we will recognize all retirees so that everybody gets that same, recognition, if you will, from volunteer to staff, and everybody in between. So, Chief Leifert, Chief Giddings, and Dennis McMillan, Engineer McMillan, have all been invited. Have they RSVP, all of them? They are offered a table. So, for like myself, it's one guest. The retirees are offered a table, that I think it's 6 or 8, so they can bring family for that retiree, moment, if you will. Chief, did I miss anything? Any questions on that? Love to see you all there. And if you have any questions, reach out to myself or Chief Hannafin or Donna. We'll make some. Chief Hannafin will know the answers. We'll make it up otherwise.
I know.
Just one last kicker. Engineer McMillan's going away party is at the Oak again tomorrow at 5 o'clock. So if you're out and about, feel free to swing by. The union is, we have partnered with the union to provide a good time. So
Thank you for that. Okay, with that, next meeting is Thursday, March 14th here at 6 p.m. And with that, we'll adjourn.
thank you. Thank you for coming.